from people.
Have we?
Yeah.
I haven't checked.
People like this angle. It has good lighting. People like the way I look at you. I've gotten look at you a lot. So I think people like that. You can tell how in love I am with you. Okay. Little do they know how obsessed I am. Just kidding. And yeah, they liked the conversation. They liked what you, there was quite a lot of good feedback about what you said about breaking, like if all you did was break the curses of your bloodline, I think is what you said.
That's the goal.
That's the goal. You're a wise man. So I don't really have like a direction for today. There's a lot of things that I've read recently and I've seen and podcasts I've listened to that I just want to talk about.
Okay.
I'm a little nervous because I feel like sometimes, I don't know, I'm a little radical.
A little bit. A little bit. So, we were just talking about this. Much more radical than myself.
Yeah. I feel like I've seen too much, like I have seen the occult, I've seen New Age, and then I also have a background in political science. I worked on I've worked on several political campaigns in a past life, and I've seen a lot. I feel like God put me in a lot of different rooms to see a lot of different things and have an interesting perspective, I think.
Yeah. So what do you got for us today?
Okay, so the first one, it's kind of like culture too, because you know me, I love culture. I think culture is very important. It influences the world. So the first thing is a article that came out from BuzzFeed that basically is, you know who Timothy Chalamet is? We don't watch like modern, like we don't watch movies like that, but he is dating one of the Kardashians, Kylie, right? She's the one that dated Travis Scott. They have 2 kids.
I guess. I don't pay attention to these people.
Okay, so Timothy Chalamet is an
skinny kid.
Yeah,
wavy brown hair.
Yeah, he was in that movie with Michael Scott. That
asexual-ish.
Yeah, super. Yeah. Okay, so he's getting a lot of hate right now because he basically said that he can't wait to be a dad and that the purpose of our life is to procreate.
Wait, so people are upset because he can't wait to be a father.
Yeah, like he can't wait to have kids.
What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? I assume you're going to unpack all this, so let's get into it.
I mean, I really don't have much to unpack. I just think it's so interesting. Like, I think it's so wild that we hate on people for like wanting to uphold family values.
That's him right there?
Yeah, that's Timothy Chalamet.
Okay. So he's got some testosterone in there. He wants to be a dad.
He wants, like I mean, he's definitely taken by Hollywood. I think they all are. But even like Kylie Jenner, she is a mom. She wanted to be a mom super young. Obviously, she's not married to the father of her children, and we don't have to go into like the whole Kardashian thing. No, but I
despise them.
You really do. That's like a crazy case study. But anyway, she has always wanted to be a mom, and like she wanted to be a mom super young, and she did become a mom very young. And I guess like Seth Rogen responded to this, and he's, I think, almost in his 40s, which is going to lead me to the next little segment.
Like Seth Rogen.
Seth Rogen was in the ID. Remember, like the kids they were going to a party and they had like the Hawaiian ID. Used to be like pretty heavier set.
Oh yeah. You know, is that his name? Seth Rogen?
Is it Seth Rogen? Hold on. Yeah, Seth Rogen, him.
Oh yeah, okay.
We might have to have Amanda like edit this so that we have photos for YouTube. So Seth,
I would assume most people probably know who these people are.
But... Yeah. Well, if you don't, so Seth Rogen was like, so basically, Timothy Chalamet is like, I want to have children. I think the purpose, this is the important piece, I think the purpose of life is procreation,
Mm-hmm.
which goes into Genesis chapter 1. It's right there. God's order design for us is to be fruitful, multiply, to procreate,
Mm-hmm.
to subdue the land, to have children and babies.
Mm-hmm.
And it's getting a lot of backlash. And Seth Rogen, who's married but doesn't have children, is basically supporting, like, there's a whole, this is going to go so deep. There's a whole movement right now, and it's been happening for quite some time, of like this underground movement that is now very mainstream, of basically telling people that having children is a burden, that being a mother and a father, you lose your freedom, you lose sense of self, you lose purpose, you can't do anything. And I think that it's just like deeply seeped into how, as a culture and a society, we operate. And like, our birth rate right now in the US is so low compared to other countries.
Mm-hmm.
The Christian birth rate is very low right now compared to other religions.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually quite devastating, because people believe that we believe this to be true in our early 20s. We believe that having a child was like going to ruin everything. And then we had a child, and we're like, wow, this is the most fulfilling thing in the entire world. And yeah, it's not easy, but fulfilling.
I think our ideology back then was a little bit different. It wasn't, we had things that we wanted to accomplish before having a child. And it was
Mm-hmm.
almost like the same way people treat marriage as like a capstone
Yeah.
in you know, uh, their journey or whatever you want to call it, like throughout their life. It's like marriage is a capstone, marriage and children. Um, I think you and I wanted to accomplish some things prior to having a child. And then we had a child unexpectedly. And yeah, you're right. It ended up turning out to be a huge blessing and
Mm-hmm.
probably the best thing that either of us have experienced in our lives up until that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even post that point, I would say. Um, First of all, I'm going to backtrack here a little bit. How did you come across this article? Is this just like all over social media or something?
No way.
I don't want
On
to go too deep here, but I'm just
Yeah, like
curious.
on my Google, when I Google in the, like, if I were Google things, sometimes articles pop up, and I saw this.
Okay, because first of all, who's taking advice from people in Hollywood? That's your first problem. I'm
A
going to let you
lot of
guys know if you're
people,
taking your advice from people in Hollywood, go touch grass. Get off of social media, go put your feet in some grass. Second of all, you're talking about Seth Rogen.
yeah,
By the way, I don't think he was in um, the movie that you're talking about. What is you were saying something about Hawaiian IDs? He was in Pineapple Express. He was in a bunch of movies. He was in
yeah.
that other movie too we watched where they were living in a house next to the frat house. Remember?
Oh yeah,
Huge
yeah,
stoner. Great guy to take advice from.
yeah.
So, and then 40 years old and you don't have children. Okay, so you have a career and you're a B-list celebrity at best, B-list celebrity. And I'm not hating here,
You're
but
hating a little. No, I
B-list
love it.
celebrity at best.
Hmm.
And you're known for being a B-list celebrity and a big pot advocate. So
Okay,
what
but
have you
this is,
accomplished? You have no children. You're 40 years old. Like what
yeah,
have
yeah.
you and
Well,
you're
that's the thing, is like, what had, like, yeah, you've accomplished fame, you've accomplished things, like materialistic things, but there's no like spiritual maturity. I think having children gives us spiritual maturity.
mm,
In a really, so I'm going to read to you the comments, because this is why I wanted to do this. So one commenter said, um, I have never wanted kids, and I would not describe my life as bleak. LOL. I do enjoy children, and being an auntie is cool, but I love giving them back. It's weird to me that people think being child free is sad, but I'm still grateful every day that I have cats instead of kids. Another commenter said, I would probably want kids if I were a man.
mhm,
Instead, as a woman who doesn't want kids, I get to have men who've never changed a F word, effing, nappy, or bathe a wailing toddler act superior towards me because they want someone to give birth to a kid for them. So this is why I'm bringing this up, because there's a few different articles I'm going to bring up. The
Mm.
Vogue article that came out.
Vogue.
Vogue art. This is important.
Okay.
We don't hook into this. We don't hook into this, but this is what people are seeking. They do seek advice. I mean, I used to read Teen Vogue as a child. They actually just ended. I used to read Teen Vogue and, like,
Mm-hmm.
read my horoscope every do my little circle. So the Vogue article basically was saying that single women, when they get into relationships, they should hide their relationships, because we need to be mindful of the way that other people feel about that, and we shouldn't brag about being in relationship, like getting into relationship with a man, and that we shouldn't make that our whole identity as women. Okay, so then there's that. Tucker Carlson's interview with Chris Williamson, which talked about the war that's happening right now,
Mm-hmm.
which you touched on the last episode of Men and Women,
Mm-hmm.
and what's breaking that apart. Then there's women going viral right now on TikTok. Obviously, I'm the culture, like, social media person in this relationship,
Mm-hmm.
for turning 40 and they're regretting the fact that they haven't had children and that they're not married and that
Yeah.
they've chosen, and they're blaming it on their avenues. Like, they've chosen their career, they've chosen all these other things, but now they're turning 40 and they're not happy because they haven't done the thing that God designed us to do. So this is why I'm bringing all of this stuff up, because there's something very dark and sinister with all of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no shit. I mean, you gave your life to a job and you achieved some milestones from a career perspective and you made some extra money along the way. Great. I mean, that's fantastic, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you turn 40 and you start having regrets because you do have a biological clock. As a man and a woman, I
Mm-hmm.
would think our biological clocks may be a little bit longer as men.
Yeah, it is. I also don't hook into the biological clock, because that would mean,
No,
right?
that's a thing. I mean, that's a thing. You reach a certain age as a woman. You reach a certain age as a woman, you're gonna lose fertility.
Yeah, you do. But I just
Um,
don't buy into, like, the when you turn 35, because I'm 35, and
yeah, no,
like, all of a sudden when
and
you turn 35, you're infertile or you're high risk,
yeah,
and you're going to have, like, all these complications. I
I
don't buy
mean,
into that.
realistically, that's probably that holds true for the women that are in their 40s as well. I mean, there's people having kids way late in age nowadays.
Hmm.
A little strange, but still possible.
We're probably going to be
Um,
having kids into our 40s.
yeah, but I like to think that there's like a measurement. I can't think of the measurement, but it's like there's a measurement basically that it doesn't necessarily correlate with your age, but it's like your
Your vitality, kind of.
I can't think of it. I just read an article about it too, or listened to a podcast about it. But any case, it's like you might be 40, but based on like your health numbers and
Hmm.
internals and those kind of things, you might be along the lines closer to like 24, based on the
Yeah.
way you take care of yourself, the things you put in your body, the things you don't put in your body, that kind of stuff. So I don't buy into that either. But yeah, that I don't find that surprising at all. You're 40 years old, and it gets back to what I just said. It's like you treat marriage and having children as a capstone for your relationship. I don't know that there's ever going to be a perfect situation to have children.
Hmm.
Might be a case that you can make for getting married. Um, but that's the thing is like everybody, you want to be done with school. You want to have the six-figure income. Then you want to
Hmm.
get married. Then you want to buy the house. Then you want to have the
Hmm.
kids. And I don't know about a lot of other people's parents out there, but I would say the generation prior to ours, which is kind of like not necessarily baby boomer. We were just talking about this, not necessarily baby boomers, but
Yeah.
tail end of baby boomers, sort of, I guess, Generation X, that would be, right?
Hmm.
Gen X.
Yeah.
Um, they didn't have their shit together when they were having kids.
Hmm.
I think my mom had me when she was like, me and my sister were both born before my mom was like 22.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I just don't agree with that.
would you go back? Like, would you? We've been together since our early 20s. Would you go back and have kids earlier? Because I
I
would.
was still in my 20s when we had kids. We were still in our 20s.
Well, we were later in our 20s. We
I
were
was
28.
27,
I was 28.
27
And
and
that's about
28.
the time that my parents started having kids. But
Hmm.
like, if you could go back, would you? Would we have like I definitely think about that quite often of like I would go back.
I know what you're glossing over right now, and I don't know
We can talk about it.
what maybe a different episode, but
Yeah.
yeah, no, absolutely. To have a shot at going back
And like get married younger, like younger and
hmm yeah, I've talked about that. Definitely. I don't see, I mean, I had my own gripes with the whole getting married young, but just essentially delayed the inevitable anyways. You know what I
well, I
mean?
think you saw it. I heard this recently of like like this is like kind of like the whole thing I want to talk about is since the 1960s, I think more than anything, we've seen a whole shift in homes and marriages and family, and the focus is no longer about the family unit. The focus is about individual needs, right? So these people that are commenting, or like these women that are turning 40 and they're like, you've lived for yourself.
Hmm.
And I go hard on the women about how selfish we've been like conditioned to be. Women by nature are not selfish. Like if you look at Yaya. Yaya was not a selfish, my grandmother, who's 87 years old. She was not a selfish woman. She was a selfless woman. She did everything for her family. You look at my mother,
Hmm.
not a selfish woman. She does everything for her family. She does everything for everyone else, sometimes to their own demise, right? Because I do think we still, as women, have to take care of ourselves for the betterment of our family so that we can continue. But
Hmm.
since the 1960s, when we had the second wave of feminism, we've seen just like this whole shift of people being more selfish, where we're looking at becoming parents, we're looking at marriage as it's going to take something from me. And it's an inversion of God's design for life and God's design for marriage.
Hmm.
And it's to no surprise that these people, as they're aging, like you're aging and you've lived life by yourself, and you can say, I always think of like, I remember I was watching Friends. I like went through and I rewatched all of Friends, and I remember thinking of like, this is exactly what culture has taught us, is that we no longer want a family unit. You can move to a city and your friends will become family, which does happen sometimes. I think that that's great. But the thing is like, there's nothing like the family. There's nothing, and I come from a Cuban family. So my abuelo, my grandfather, he like family was everything for him. And this was a man who was an orphan by the age of 7 years old. He didn't have family, but when he had a family, like he did everything for his family.
Hmm.
And I think of someone like that who just like my grandparents are just such a prime example of that. It was They were the most selfless people. They did everything for the family, no matter what they needed to do, like fight in a war against communism, move to a new country to protect your family,
Hmm.
work in factories like to provide for the family. Like it was such a big deal when they bought their house.
Hmm.
They worked so hard for that, and I just feel like that is what God designed us for, is exactly that.
Hmm.
And I feel like we've glamorized selfish needs above the family, and it started kind of before the 60s, but it became more popular in the 60s, where basically, there was a counterculture.
Hmm.
I don't know if you want to go into that. There was, the anti-war hippie yippie movement, and then there was the second wave of feminism, the sexual, revolution that hit, and the family unit completely broke. And now we're how many years? 60 years down the line, reaping, and we have people that are more depressed, more anxious, more isolated, more lonely. I didn't write this, but I'll also add in the guy who, because I want to get into like just all of this, of what we've done to women and men. because of these influences, being influenced by Hollywood, being influenced by culture. The guy in Arizona who left his 2-year-old daughter
Mm.
in a car wasn't the first time. This is a repeated pattern. He had 3 children, left his 2-year-old daughter in a car. She died.
Mm-hmm.
And because he wanted to watch porn. And he had done that previously to play video games with his others. His wife even texted him. There's texts from his wife saying, "Stop leaving our children in the car." And I just am thinking about all of this. I've been stewing on it for the past week or so and just like praying about it of like, this is so dangerous.
Mm.
And people see Christian family values as radical,
Mm-hmm.
and yet it is these values, these moral grounding, the things that God has put into place by the Bible, we have access to all of this wisdom, is because he knows that it keeps order, and we've
Mm.
completely dismantled order. So that's why I wanted to bring all that in, because I'm just like, it's so sad. It's so sad, you know,
Yeah, that's crazy.
and no one's benefiting. Who's benefiting?
I mean, at that point, it just comes down to, I think, whatever agendas at play. Um, and I mean, if you look at things through like a religious lens, um, you could say like satanic forces or demonic forces. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I think you and I tend to look at things more through a spiritual lens.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, because how else do you explain everything that you just mentioned? How else do you explain that? Um,
It is like deeply, it like it is very spiritual, and like I feel like this podcast has to touch on the spiritual warfare, because that's what's happening in the home more than anything, is the spiritual warfare.
mhm,
We talked on the last podcast of like doors that are opened, and
mhm,
um we just like we see it play out in our life of how it affects couples, how it affects married couples, person, like we've seen it, and I'm hesitant to talk like about people that we know personally, but I've seen it. I see it over and over again, of women that are not happy, women that are seeking validation, men that are completely shut down, disconnected, they're not taking care of themselves, they're not owning, not to the extreme of like you've left your child in the car and they've passed like a terrible thing where that child died, that guy then committed suicide. But we see it, we're with couples all the time in person where the man is just completely shut down,
mhm,
or and then the wife's like trying to um, make up for it in many ways. And I think that that's the intention of the podcast, is to kind of have these honest conversations, because it's happening in real time. We can look at it and be like, oh, that's just Hollywood. This is what people are worshiping. These are the idols that people are worshiping.
mhm, mhm.
You don't like the Kardashians, but I know a lot of women that hook into, you know.
Yeah, that's crazy to me. Yeah, I don't know. I don't keep up with them. I don't watch. It's just soulless people.
Hmm.
It's the best way I can describe them. Virtually bring.
I mean, we could go into,
I just don't think they
yeah.
bring anything to the table. It's just like out of everybody in society that you could look up to and put on a pedestal, like those are the people we choose.
Hmm.
But it's not just them. It's like it's all of it. It's like having grown men putting professional athletes on a pedestal.
Talk about it.
It's the same thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Out of anybody in the world that you could put on a pedestal, past, present, you know, these are the people that we choose to worship. Um, which is crazy because if you guys walked down the street and they walked past you, they wouldn't even bat an eye at you. Wouldn't
Yeah.
know your name,
Yeah.
wouldn't care if you fell off the face of the earth tomorrow.
Hmm. Yeah.
But yet we worship these people and we wear their names on the back of our jerseys. We go to a football stadium or a basketball game. And I've been there. I've been there,
Hmm.
years ago. I've never been to a professional football game, so I can't say I've been there, but um Yeah, it's just
Do you feel
like,
like you're wearing a Ohio State hat? So
yeah, but at least the Buckeyes are, in the last 2 years consecutively, they've baptized 15,000 kids on campus. Their
yeah.
whole mission statement last year was Jesus first. You know what I mean?
Wow. Yeah.
Like those kids, starting with last year, maybe even the year before, um, have brought a ton of people back to God, ton of people
Mhm.
to Jesus. So yeah, I
Yeah.
can wear my Buckeyes hat, and I can say that proudly. Um, but I like the Buckeyes, yeah, but it's still God first.
Mhm.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like the Buckeyes played on Saturday, and I have my choice between church or the Buckeyes game. Where do we go?
We go to
We
church.
go to church.
A lot of men wouldn't do that.
Maybe that's part of the problem.
Mhm.
So it's like, again, you're going to put somebody else's name on the back of a shirt and wear it and worship these people for what?
Mhm.
For what? And just a side note, all the shit that's coming out with all these games being rigged and inside gambling, and that's a whole nother tangent, but
Mhm.
I think it's all theatrics. I don't know so much about college football, but professional sports, I think it's all
Yeah.
theatrics.
We haven't watched the Super Bowl in almost 10 years.
No, I got a
Mhm.
better way to spend 4 hours of my time.
Also, let's not even talk about the halftime show. That's
Well,
always a
that kind of
satanic
circles
ritual.
back to like the whole stuff
Yeah.
with Hollywood, right? Because if people have been paying attention, and I would assume maybe a lot of people aren't paying attention, but based on the type of information and things I consume, I've been paying attention for a long time. And that's
Mhm.
not to like preach from my soapbox, but we know that Hollywood's rooted in occultism.
Mhm.
Probably the same with our political figures. Same with some of these weirdos that are pulling the string behind pulling the strings or behind the curtains, calling the shots with whatever politics, world events. Yeah, I mean, we like it's known those people practice in occultism. I don't know what they worship, but they're not worshiping God.
Bam ball.
Baal, what I don't know. It goes a little
It's
bit deep.
exactly like even if you look at like the symbolism and just of all of it, like it's so the symbolism's right there,
Yeah, they
you
put it
know?
in front of your face.
You know what's so crazy? This is kind of like a side thing is a lot of that symbolism that they use with like the occult and I don't know, like the Illuminati and stuff like that. A lot of that is actually used in divine feminine worship,
I believe that.
like the serpent and just like a lot of it's just like
Hmm.
um and when I was like so hooked in it, I try to justify it of like, no, they just don't understand. And now that I have stepped out of it and God has the veil is just like so clear now. I'm like, oh my gosh, like we literally are worshiping a false God, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting, and I only see glimpses of it because I'm on X, and that's the only form of social media that I have. Um, I'm not on there posting. I'm not on there after followers. It's really just to keep up with news and what's going on in the world,
Mm-hmm.
through more of a conservative lens, just because that's what that's what I care to, that's what I care to see. That's what the information I care to absorb. But
Yeah.
um, it is interesting, a lot of the things you mentioned, that it's just it's perpetuated on social media. Um, one thing that I find interesting as well is, I don't know, to get back to what you brought up about that article, um, or even some of these women that do post on social media and they're posting things with their partners or their husbands, and they're getting drugged through the mud by these other women. Why is it that it's always women trying to bring other women down?
Mm.
Touch on that, because I don't know what that is. Is that like a women specific thing? It's always women that are
Mm-hmm.
always trying to hold other women back.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you have a man? You shouldn't have a man. You don't need a man.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Oh, you want to, what happens when you talk to self-righteous,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll pump the brakes because I don't want to be too brash here, but these women that want to chase their careers,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, these women that want to be on OnlyFans, they're chasing money, whatever the case is.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're like, "Oh, what do you do?" And you're like, "I'm a stay-at-home mom." And they're like, "Stay-at-home mom?" And then they look down on these women
Mm-hmm.
because they are stay-at-home. What is that about? What
I
is
mean,
that?
I just had it recently. Like I got that text a month ago because I'm very open with I don't plan on staying in my corporate job for long. I want to be a mom. I want to homeschool our kids. I'm very open about it. Like I will not when I get pregnant, that's it.
Yeah.
My notice goes in. I will be pregnant. I will prepare our home for a baby. I take breastfeeding seriously. I take birth like I just like it's all in. Like I'm all in with it. I was all in with it with Elliot, and I saw the fruit of the labor of all of it, quite
Yeah.
literally, just with how smart she is and how good of a kid she is, how
It's
kind she is.
you see it every day.
And
But
so
what is that about though?
I got the text. I'm going to tell the audience like I got this random Teams message, which is like
Mm,
text from an employee basically telling me that I shouldn't quit my job and
mm,
I shouldn't put all my eggs in your basket,
in one basket.
which is you.
Yeah.
You are the basket.
Mm,
Um, I don't have a backup plan. Like there's no, yeah, I make money in my coaching business, and I guess that's technically a backup plan, although that money goes into mutual accounts always.
mm.
You have access to
We
every.
share bank accounts, by the way, for those because there are a lot of people out there that don't. I know people personally and close to me that are married, have children, and they still
I
have
think
separate
that's
bank
a
accounts.
huge issue. I don't think that you should be hiding money from your partner. I don't think that you
Well,
should.
hiding money is one thing, but I'm just talking about
No,
dual
it's all of it.
dual checking accounts.
Yeah, like you
Anyways, I was
yeah,
just
that's no, I know women as well that do that. I know people that do, couples that do that, and you choose unity. Like that's the thing is like I feel like when we got married, and this is what I think changed from when we were in our early 20s, is you saw marriage, you were brainwashed, like let's just call it what it was, to think that marriage was a contract. And that's all it was. It was a legal binding contract. Marriage is a covenant under God's order, which means you can't break it. And I think people have to understand that. When we got married, I we it was just like that was it. Like I'm not going to, choose anyone, anything, any dream. Like I will if you told me tomorrow to quit my business, I would quit my business.
mhm,
I wouldn't choose anything over our marriage,
mhm,
right? um, Ever. So I got this text and it was basically like things happen and people leave and worst case scenario, things that you have life insurance for and like
mhm,
things in place for,
mhm,
and or being able to like put Elliot in activities and things. And I'm just like, I wouldn't, to me, working a corporate job and even running a business, because I know a lot of women that run these businesses like corporate jobs, like you leave the 9 to 5 and then you're exhausting yourself running these businesses. You actually work more in the business. I don't
mhm,
run my business like that, Um, and maybe I sacrifice income because of it, but I'm not going to exhaust time with my family to run a business to make more money. I just won't do it. So she sent me that text and like it did. Like I was quite mad when I
mhm.
saw it.
Yeah.
Like I stewed on it for, for a little bit. And I didn't respond and she ended up deleting it, but I saw it and
Mhm,
I stewed on it. And what I think that it is I struggle with this because like I don't act that way with women. But I used to. So and when I used to is because I was unhappy with myself. Like I don't judge what like even right now, like I don't judge women that haven't found Jesus and are still hooked in new age.
yeah, sure.
I have women that I love and I pray for them. I don't say that in a condescending way. Like I deeply pray for women to come to Christ. I deeply pray for women to have the same type of relationship that we have. I
Mhm,
don't judge women that are not living that or women that are still promiscuous and single and having one night stands or dating all these men or on the dating apps or any of that. I don't judge women that aren't in happy marriages. I pray for them. I think that when you act that way as a woman, there's something you're missing joy, you're missing fulfillment, you're missing just like a piece of you that I think makes you happy, and you're not receiving something, therefore you're projecting that out to someone else, you know. And women are mean, like I used to be very mean, and I always like joke about this, but I was thinking about this while I was driving the other day of like, you've made me such a kind person very early on. Like you're the type of person where like you go into any room, any place, and you're just kind. And I had to learn that because that wasn't taught behavior to me. I was taught to be catty. I was taught to talk bad about people. I was taught to be judgmental.
Mm-hmm.
And to be on defense. It's like you're always on defense with women.
Yeah.
And sometimes I walk into rooms and I can feel it. Like sometimes I walk into rooms and I can feel women's defense coming up against me. And it's a very awkward like thing to navigate.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but usually I just like kind of ignore it, to be honest, like at this point.
I mean, what else are
I
you
mean,
gonna do?
there's really, yeah, like there's nothing really I can do about it. Um, but that's what I think it is I also think that there is a lot of social pressure of what it means to be the right woman or like a good woman, you know?
Is that
Um,
true?
yeah, absolutely. From the time we're young,
Oh yeah, I know. I see
yeah,
what you mean.
to be pretty enough, to be,
Yeah.
you know, but you can't be too pretty. You got to be pretty, but not too pretty. For too pretty, then you're on the outs.
Yeah.
So you got to like be pretty enough, but not too pretty. You got to be smart, but not too smart. You
Mm-hmm.
have to be, you know, strong willed, but not too strong willed. You got to be soft, but not too soft. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so I think as women, it's like we're constantly kind of like, I think as women, we have to get really good at being shapeshifters. Like, that's actually a really good trait
Yeah.
for women because
I think it's a natural trait for women, to be honest.
yeah, yeah. And not like in a manipulative way. It's just like you read the room. Like I've
Mm-hmm.
learned with age to read rooms and I absorb the room and I mirror my behavior, my actions, my words, especially my words, because sometimes I would say the wrong thing to the wrong people and it would be
Yeah.
not the best. So, um yeah, I don't know. Women, I think that yeah, I mean, I see it all the time of like women are like nasty. You're in a happy relationship and like,
Well, I would assume that's where that social trend kind of spawns from, right? Where it's like I don't understand that. It just makes no sense to me. So because you're happy and in a relationship, you're supposed to tread lightly and
mm,
not be as blatant with a life you share with your partner or your husband or whatever the case is. You're supposed to keep that part
yeah, like you're
quiet,
supposed like, so there's like trends of like, so like if
to
we
be
took a
blurred out in the
picture,
back.
it would only be the back of your head. So like I'm only kind of showing little bits and pieces of you instead of showing the whole
That's
you.
so weird.
Hmm.
That is
Yeah.
so weird.
And like kind of like hiding the fact that, you know, like,
It sounds to me that sounds a little like not just a little. It sounds very. It sounds narcissistic because then
yeah.
what? The woman is the focal point, or
Well,
like
we're gonna get in like, okay, so if
because
we're,
it. I just I don't I can't wrap my head around that
but
at
that's
all.
what culture does. Like culture and
Well,
society, it promotes narcissism, which is the
well, that's
absence of
yeah.
God,
I think that's
you
the
know?
whole
Yeah.
everything the whole woke
Yeah.
agenda and everything that comes with that is what that is all about. Is just self-perpetuating narcissism.
Yeah.
And I don't want to go super political here, but it's like the first thing I think of when you say that is like, so I'm supposed to basically move around this aspect of like what's it sounds like it's becoming maybe a social norm, right? So I'm supposed to navigate around this social norm. So kind of like the same thing with like I'm gonna probably ruffle some feathers here, but kind of like the same thing with pronouns.
Mm-hmm.
Because based on the way you feel
Mm-hmm.
and what you think is truth, which is strictly just your opinion,
Mm-hmm.
I'm supposed to conform and I'm
Mm-hmm.
supposed to adapt that and
Yeah.
then share that ideology and expect me to go against my beliefs and use your pronouns.
Yeah.
which I don't, by the way. I don't subscribe to that at all.
I've
Just
never
throwing
put
it out there.
pronouns in
No,
my
and
bio or
like
anything.
I don't
We don't have,
subscribe to that. But
yeah.
that's like to me that just reeks of narcissism.
Well, that's exactly what it is it's you're so, this is the issue.
And also like why when did as like a culture we talked about this. I said when did men get so soft? Like when did we become so soft, so sensitive? But it's not just men, it's like society as a whole.
Hmm.
When did we become so sensitive? And like I'm all like you said, I'm a very kind person. Like I tend not to judge people. And like even if I'm around people that I don't agree with or I don't share the ideology, I would never like just blatantly be a dick. You know what I mean?
We
But
break
like,
bread every single time we go over to my like parents' house with
of
people that don't
course,
agree with us.
of your parents themselves. I
Yeah,
mean,
like
like,
it
but
just, I don't believe that. Like, I will not allow separation or division to like live in my home ever.
exactly, you know,
But that doesn't mean like I agree with you. You know, I love and like that's what Jesus, I've seen so much of like these social media theologians of like what Jesus actually taught and like manipulating the words. We are, as Christians, we are meant to love people wholeheartedly.
so, but I'm gonna pause you right there, and I don't mean to interrupt.
I know, but
So it's like we're taught to love,
and
yes, but
don't negate the love. Love always
okay,
comes from
I'll let you finish. I'll let you finish. Then you finish what you were gonna say.
and Jesus didn't teach tolerance.
I was just gonna say there's a fine line between being kind and loving
Yes.
and you know having your tolerance taken advantage of or exploited.
Hmm.
There's a fine line.
Jesus taught truth.
And
He
I
was the
can't
truth.
get over that. Like because you may offend somebody else or somebody else that's not in a relationship or somebody
Hmm.
else that is trying to be a boss babe or live their independent life and live their best life single and chase money. That's cool. Like what I don't agree with it, but it's kind of one of the perks of living in like our country and living in
Yeah,
like this the
exactly.
times that we live in. That's great, good for you. But I
But
just
don't take, it's like when like Ballerina Farms, there was an article that came out about a year ago and people were hating on her because she went to Juilliard and she married a very wealthy man. I think he's like the heir of some airline, and they live in Utah. They're Mormon, so they live in Utah and they have a lot of children. And she got hated on because she's mom. Actually, they run an empire. Like, if you actually go a little bit deeper, they run an empire. She has a social media empire. They have a whole brand, a farm that produces products together.
mhm.
And so she is a boss babe, but she's a mom. More than anything, she's a mom. She takes care of these children. She bakes delicious meals and like that. Like there's nothing more fulfilling than that. I just like
Yeah,
I
good for her.
as I have just like become aspired to become more of a biblically led woman, it's just like that is our role. I
It's also your gift.
talk about it.
Why does
Yeah.
that like it immediately goes to the roles, right? So it's like this is your job. Well, in order for it to be your job, you have to be good at it, no?
Yeah.
Okay, well, do you think it just so happens that women are good at those things naturally?
Yeah.
Like that's not by coincidence.
Yeah,
Those
we are
are
gifted to
first and
nurture.
foremost, they are like they're traits. They are gifts first and
Mm.
foremost. It's just like the post that you showed me the other day. I forget, I can't remember. I'll butcher the words if I try to say it, but
Which one?
the one you just sent me yesterday.
Oh, that I said. Oh, the comment that I left that like went viral.
Say it and I'll know it.
I basically I commented on this woman's Instagram reel, and she was talking about going to toe to toe with the boys so that her husband could become a man. And I said, no one wants to talk about the women who go head to head with, who take a boy, go to war with Satan to make him a man of God. No one wants to talk about that. That's our gift as women.
That's a gift.
No, but women don't want that. We don't want the boy, right? Like, so like we're conditioned to have the man already made, And no one wants to sit with a man on his darkest hours. No one wants to sit with a man when he's struggling mentally. No one wants to sit with a man when he doesn't have purpose. No one wants to sit with a man when he's not financially made. No one
Hmm.
wants to sit with that man.
Hmm.
Culture tells us don't sit with that man. You shouldn't take care, you shouldn't pick up his socks. You shouldn't take care of him. You shouldn't have these moments with him, you know?
I think much like a lot of the things that are out there floating around on social media, the same thing with mainstream news, whether it be racism or anti-Semitism or whatever the case is.
Mm-hmm.
I think in a lot of cases they make it seem like that there's a lot more of that going on and being perpetuated than what there actually
Mm-hmm.
is, right?
Yeah.
So it's like I would not blanket or like clump all women into that category because I don't find that to be true.
Yeah.
There probably are some women out there that fall into that category. I would assume much younger in age,
Younger.
21 to
Yeah.
27, somewhere in that range, whose prefrontal cortex isn't even all the way developed yet, who
Mm-hmm.
haven't fully matured yet, who haven't lived life yet.
Mm-hmm.
You're going based off of what you're
But women initiate divorce more than men.
yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
So women initiate divorce more than men,
Hmm.
and men are struggling mentally, physically, because women have wanted to become boss babes. So men are out of purpose. Like when I read the article of the guy and saw like the TikToks going around about the guy who committed suicide because, he killed his daughter by leaving her in the car to go watch porn and play video games.
Hmm.
I am like, well, what's the dynamic? What was the dynamic within the home? Right. Because a man is this is like what we've left men to watch porn and play video games. We know a lot of men like that. I hear it from wives of like, the men aren't showing up. But I also, on even like just an energetic level, I'm seeing these women who are controlling. I'm seeing these women who aren't praying life into their men.
Hmm.
I'm seeing men who, if there's no purpose, like if there's no purpose for men, what are you guys left to do?
You're
So
gonna check out.
you're going to check out.
Yeah.
Or if you have a wife who's just like beating you down every day because you're not enough, you're going to check out.
Hmm.
You're going to go for the beer, go for the weed, you're going to go for the porn, you're going to go for, OnlyFans, you're going to go for video games,
Yeah.
all of these things. And it's just like, it's kind of a perpetual loop that's
Hmm.
happening.
Yeah, totally.
And who breaks it then? Well, the only person that can break it is the blood of Jesus Christ if we want to be like real. Like this is why couples need to go to church together. Couples need to be praying together. Like couples need to be like, yeah, I have gone to war for you. I've talked about this a lot. Like I actually would really love to create this reel of taking pictures of you before and after Jesus
Mm.
because you're a drastically different man, you know? And even me, like just drastically different of a woman. Like just we're not perfect, but we're solid,
Hmm.
you know? And this is what I think is like happening right now is people are like there's a war happening out there spiritually and it's seeping into the home, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So it is kind of a bit of a loop, like you said, because I think a lot of times as people, we always want to shift blame, right?
And
And I'm not
yeah,
saying you are,
yeah,
but I'm saying right now we're like, it's like a seesaw, right?
yeah,
And let's be honest, men and women are pitted against each other.
mhm,
There's a lot of other instances where we're pitted against each other as
yeah.
well, whether it's politically,
I'm gonna put him
religiously,
in his crate real quick.
whatever the case is. Here, we can just pause really quick.
What were you saying?
Just that, like, we're kind of in delicate times with like the power dynamic right now. There's a bit of a power struggle going on, and I don't know if it's as much of a power struggle as it is where we're just looking to place blame. Like, I
Hmm.
think I think a lot of times when both parties are wrong, that's usually when you try to when you try to place blame.
Mhm.
You think about like children.
Mm.
Elliot's in that little phase right now
Yeah.
where she wants to place blame. It's not my
Mhm.
fault.
Mhm.
Nobody said it was. It's like, but I will tell you like two
Someone always has to be to blame. Like something goes
exactly
wrong and
some
someone always has to be to blame.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like, what do I always tell her? I'm like, well, nobody's looking to place blame. I said,
Mhm.
first of all, and second of all, it's like if you're in the wrong and she's in the wrong, or if I'm in the wrong and she's in the wrong, the first thing I tell her is two wrongs don't make a right.
Mhm.
So like that's always like the correction is like two wrongs don't make a right. And I think with the way men and women are pitted against each other right now, people are in search of placing blame.
Mhm.
And rather than men being combative about it, men are just like, fuck it, I'm out.
Mhm.
I'm just going to
Mhm.
check out. I don't want anything to do with the women.
Mhm.
I can't find a good woman. I mean, I can't find a good woman. So I'm just going to go over here and do my own thing. I'm not even going to attempt because
Mhm.
that's what's going on, right?
Mhm.
That's what's going on is like men are just so checked out. But
But like in marriage too, you think they're just like checking out a marriage as well?
for sure,
Yeah.
for sure. I don't know where that correlation is, like um, how that correlates with the men staying when it gets to a point where divorce is on the table and
Mm.
men are the ones electing to stay. Because I think it is deep down, men see that there's something there worth fighting for.
Mhm.
Um, at least like the optimist in me wants to say that that's why the men choose to stay
Mm.
is they would rather, because I think there's something instinctual about that. I just told you the other day, I'm like, if you and I would have stayed apart, the
Mhm.
idea of having another man raise my child
Mm.
is just, it's not a pleasant thought.
Yeah.
No man wants another man. There might be a few exceptions out there, but no man wants another man raising his children. You know what I mean? And I think there is something there where it's like you do take that oath when you do get married. And I don't, rather than each person trying to shift blame when really there's probably both of them are
Yeah.
at blame or at fault and taking the time to work through their shit. It's just like, one person just calls it quits. But the reason I said it's like a perpetual loop, like, well, I agree with your statement about it being a perpetual loop, is because of the men being checked out right now, there's already a tremendous workload on the shoulders of the good women out there
Mhm.
that are in these relationships.
Mhm.
And the crazy thing is like we'll never truly understand like our roles in the household through each other's lens, right?
Mm.
I'll never understand what it is like to wake up any given day with 1,000 different thoughts running through my head, everything ranging from
Mhm.
getting Elliot up, getting her ready for school. What are we going to pack her in her lunch today? She's got to play today. Her hair needs curled. Christmas or birthday's coming up next week. There's 50 things to plan for that. Then it's Thanksgiving, then it's Christmas. And it's like all of that, all while trying to make sure your husband's satisfied in the relationship, all while trying to show up, have your makeup done, your hair done, make sure you picked out something nice for the way to wear for the day. What's grocery shopping look like, even though we just grocery shopped 2 days ago? What's that look like by the end of the week? The house needs to be clean. There's laundry that needs to be folded. It all, like, women carry an extremely heavy workload.
You know how happy you just made so many women.
Well, yeah, but so here's the caveat, right? So the caveat is like you'll never understand the pressure that men have
Mhm.
with needing to be the ones to have the bills paid and keep the house over people's heads
Mhm.
and be mindful of how they're showing up for their kids, being mindful of how they're showing up for their wives, being mindful of how they're taking care of themselves, um,
Knowing what's going on in the world.
knowing what's going on in the world, how to navigate your family through all of that, the financial burdens, it's just like it's very difficult to see those things through each other's lenses, I think. Um, and I don't know. I'm like always a little bit, I get pulled in both directions because I find myself wanting to place blame as well, where it's like, I see the things through the women's perspective where you guys already carry such a tremendous workload, and then you throw those extra things in there where your husband's checked out, he's not showing up as well as he could be, he's not showing
Yeah.
up as the man um, that you saw with all the potential in the world before you got married or when you got married, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, I kind of want to blame the men too for checking out,
Mm-hmm.
because it's like, dude, you really need to go by the gas station after work every night and grab a 6 pack of beer or a 12 pack of
Mm-hmm.
beer? I mean, what's that doing for you?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, what's that doing for you? It's not doing anything. It makes you feel better until tomorrow when you got to go through and grab that 6 pack again, or the 12 pack.
Mm-hmm.
The weed's the same thing.
Yeah.
The weed's the same thing. Um, there's a reason why people say men live quiet lives in desperation. The last thing you need to do is be walking through life numb and checked out. It's just not going to get any better. You just
Mm-hmm.
pawn it off. You just kick the can down the road until tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, like, there's a huge part of me that wants to shift blame there, where it's like, you don't have to turn into like Tony Robbins overnight.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's like little changes that just compound over time,
Yeah.
right? Maybe that starts with going to the gym a couple days out of the week at the beginning of the new year. You
Mm-hmm.
know, maybe that's taken a month to get sober and see how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Or I don't know. I don't have the answers. Like, again, I don't want to preach from from a soapbox here, but there's a reason why I don't smoke weed. There's a reason why I don't drink alcohol. There's a reason why I go to the gym. There's a reason why, I'm usually stressed out because I always feel like I'm not doing enough. But when you put down on paper what's actually being done, it's like, holy shit, quite a
Mm-hmm.
bit.
Yeah.
Job, full-time school, gym, you know, taking care of Elliot, doing stuff where things need to be picked up when you're working, or like
Mm-hmm.
whatever. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know where that disconnect is. I don't know. I agree with you in a sense that there is that perpetual loop, but I get hung up with wanting to place blame. But I guess I kind of answered my own question, because two wrongs don't make a right. It's just from
Mm.
there, I don't know where to take things.
Yeah.
The only solution that I can think of logically is the faith. It's the faith piece,
I think it is.
you know?
It goes back, like what you just shared was just so good. I loved it all. Um, it goes back to what you said, like turn turn off social media, turn off the television, go touch the grass with your partner. It's why we take so many walks, so that we can just, as a family, like we're just, we do our best to like just be outside. We pray, we go to church, and not to like check things off a box, but because like we feel spiritually nourished. Like you're joining the men's group to feel spiritually nourished so that you
Yeah.
can be with other men, so
Mhm.
that you can be a better father and
Yeah.
a better husband.
Yeah. What
Um,
little, I think that's important. Like, we'll just like pause for a second and just, what common ground can you find within your relationship or within your household that is going to fill everyone's cup?
mm,
Not just your cup on Sundays when you sit down to watch football for 8 hours.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Or not what fills your cup when you go out for 4 or 5 hours with, a girls' night. And I'm not saying like that's a bad thing. Girls' night's not a bad thing. You know what I'm saying? You have different opinion, but like once a month, if you were like, "Hey, I'm going out with the girls tonight," I'd be like,
it
"Well,
depends what you're doing on the girls' night.
exactly." I'd be like, "Well, which girls are you going out with?" I know you well enough to know that I know exactly who you would go, because your circle is very small, as is mine. I don't think that's a bad thing. Or, you know what I'm saying? But it's just like being a little less selfish and being a little bit more selfless,
Yeah,
because that's one thing that I found to be true when we were going through it, and wanting to place blame, and also not taking ownership of my shortcomings and
mm-hmm.
my shortfalls, was like having someone to be there to navigate that, to give each of us an opportunity to speak and get what we needed to off of our chests.
Yeah,
um, Made me quickly realize, and I've talked about this and I'll continue to talk about it until as long as I can, but it made me realize how juvenile it was
yeah,
to place blame and point the
yeah,
finger,
yeah,
because I had my own shit that wasn't showing up. I
mm-hmm.
wasn't handling my own things. You know what I mean? So maybe just a little bit more radical accountability. Like, what would that look like for the men out there if they just showed up and started becoming radically, um, I lost my train of thought.
Just like honest, like radically
No, like
honest.
just radically, radically, just self responsibility, just showing
Mm-hmm.
up and being radically more self responsive or responsible. So like I said this earlier. I don't know what we were talking about, but it was like, oh, we were talking about inviting someone to church.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I won't take the time, and maybe this is not the best outlook, but I'm not going to take the time to show up and invite someone to church. Not that it's time, but I'm not going to, that's not how I move. I'll show up and lead by example.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, like, a friend of mine's going through it, has his own personal issues. You said, hey, why don't you see if he wants to come to church with us this weekend? And it was like, well, I can't make that decision for him.
Mm-hmm.
All I can do is just show up and lead by example.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And just hope that that rubs
Yeah.
off the right way.
Yeah.
So like maybe if you show up and you're radically more responsible with your decisions in your relationship, like if you were out of shape and not taking care of yourself and not getting dressed up or XYZ, but to the opposite of that, you saw me getting up and going to the gym every day, got in the best shape of my life, take care of myself, well groomed all the time, that kind of stuff. Wouldn't you think you'd be like, wow, that's, I want to be more like that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like leading by example. So maybe it's less about placing blame and just more, I don't know,
Yeah.
being more selfless and less selfish.
Yeah. Yeah. I think men like that's where men can really, I think, help shift the family dynamics in the marriage. Is you guys are like we were talking about like gifts, like leadership is your gift. It's what God um, has given to men. So I feel like if men start doing that, and not to put more pressure on men because it's going to help the men themselves, but it's also going to help their family. And yeah, it's just like I feel like, and this isn't to put blame because I think it does come on both parts. Like when we were going through it, we were both to blame for
Mm-hmm.
many different things. They were very, like you said, very small. But it create the small things. They're just like these little like needle points, and then they get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yep. It's like
Um,
death by a thousand swords.
yeah, you're so wise.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, so I feel like men aren't leading if they're numbing out,
We
you
can't.
know? And it does put a big, and I feel like so many women are going to listen to this and they're going to hear just um, you saying just the burden that us as women do carry for the home. We think about everything, you know? I'm trying to remember where we were.
I don't know. A few hundred videos and pictures deleted.
We had to make more space for storage. Yeah, I think I was saying like it's hard for me to get to that place, but I know that there's so many women that are in that space, and
Mm-hmm.
of not feeling seen, or just like I think it's really important for each individual party to understand the burden that we both carry, and to understand just that hidden weight that we walk around with.
Yeah, even if you don't fully, because like I said, I don't think there's a way for either of us to truly understand, and I don't want to say burdens, but just like the responsibilities that each of us
Yeah.
carry, or as a man and a woman, the responsibilities we have are vastly different, vastly
Mhm.
different, but at least have like common ground, like a
Yeah.
mutual understanding,
But
you know?
isn't that what makes like marriage so good? Like, I was talking yesterday to one of the moms at cheer, and she's a single mom, and I just like thought, like, I always think about this when I hear about like just parents that are doing it themselves, like they don't have that. I'm just like, that's why God made marriage. Is like,
Yeah. Yeah. When you went to Nicaragua for a week, and I think your mom helped like one or two of the days, but yeah, I couldn't imagine being a single parent
yeah.
with multiple kids. Like that would be, it's just insane. But
But that's why God made marriage, is because we do have different gifts and we have different roles, and we are designed differently. And again, like culture is trying to blur the lines,
mhm,
and they're not meant to be blurred. They're meant to be very clear. And it's very clear when you open up the Bible and you read about marriage, and you read in Ephesians, and you read in Corinthians, and you read in just all of these books, Proverbs, Psalms, like God, Genesis, like God has clearly defined our gifts and laid it out for us. And I just feel like, again, Hollywood culture, politics, it is satanic because anything that separates us from the nature of God, from the character of God,
Mm,
it ruins our identity and it ruins that role. And I think that that's what's happening is, Satan's coming in and trying to blur these lines, and it's making it quite confusing. But I also want to share, because I think, as well as, like, with that being said, with the understanding that we both have different gifts and there's different responsibilities and different roles, I think that we have to have appreciation for one another. And I
mm,
think that that's missing. And it's very simple and it's very small, but I do my best to just, like, thank you and just be grateful,
mhm,
And not to mention, like, men need that. I know I go hard on women, but, like, we both need it, like men and women. But if you ever want to, like, soften a man's heart, tell him that you're proud of him, tell him that you're, like, for whatever he's doing. It goes a long way. And for men, it's just like, take, like, slow it down for a minute and just, like, have a touch point with your wife. It's so simple.
yeah, and maybe make things a little bit more black and white,
Mhm.
a little bit more tangible.
Yeah.
And men are very straight to the point, black
Mhm.
and white. It's like the that program that we were in. You know which one I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah. It was very not.
Well, yeah, it's like the women, they know what they want, but how they go about it and how they articulate themselves and what they want, it's like you said a million words, but you didn't say
Mhm.
anything at all.
Yeah.
Just be a little
We had a
direct.
moment like that this weekend. Like, a moment like that where it was just like I wanted affection and attention, and I just, like, had to lay it out to you, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Don't. I just always think of it as playing games. Just get straight to the point.
Yeah.
Like, most of us men out there are pretty thick skinned. I don't think you're going to hurt our feelings. I'd rather you be direct with me so I could be like, so that's what all this is about. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Because a wandering mind is just never a good thing. You think a
Yeah.
million things.
Mhm.
And same with you. It's like when
Yeah.
you have a wandering mind versus just being direct and like
Mhm.
squashing something, it leads you to kind of like your own demise in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
You know
for
what I mean?
sure. Yeah, that's when the
So
enemy comes in and you
for
be
sure,
thinking
because then you
things.
start thinking crazy things, and it's like,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, it's just,
It's too much.
yeah, it becomes too much. I keep thinking. So I have two things here.
Mhm.
So you have that perpetual loop between men and women in the household dynamic, husbands, wives.
Mhm.
Um, the interesting thing about being a man and being checked out is like there's something instinctual, and we know in our heart of hearts when we're not showing up and we're not handling our shit.
Mhm.
And what happens is like we already put enough pressure on ourselves as men. That pressure just compounds.
Mm.
So it's like when you know you're not showing up and not living as the best version of yourself, you're going to beat yourself up more in that process. And then you're trapped in a perpetual loop inside of a perpetual loop,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
then you're in your own way
Mhm.
a lot of times.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just not a good feeling, right? It's like I think you have to be quick to pull yourself out of that loop, because otherwise it's like a death sentence. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yeah.
Because like I said, when you're not showing up and you're not being the best version of yourself, it's like that guilt just kind of, at least for me, that guilt just kind of eats you up,
Mm.
and I think that was a lot of the issues with our in our relationship post stepping into parenthood, was realizing that I wasn't showing up as the best version of myself, and also beating myself up because I wasn't showing up as the best version of myself,
Yeah.
which then, it led me to thinking like, oh, I wasn't doing enough. I'm not showing up enough. I'm not good
Yeah.
enough. And then you're not going to show up and be the best version of yourself if that's all you're telling yourself on a daily
That's why
basis.
God's so good, because that's what repentance is, like, realizing that you misstepped.
You want to know one of the best versions of repentance for a man outside of going to church and having
Mm.
conversations with God
Yeah.
is to get around other men that are also dealing with the same things and also repenting for those same things.
Wow.
Because then you realize that, like, you know that there are other men out there going through the same thing that have the same struggles. But when you get another group of men who maybe been there, done that, they're already past that point in their life. They're already, you know, trying to better themselves or actively working on themselves on a daily basis. It's very interesting going to that men's group, and the age range was pretty scattered. I was
Yeah.
kind of at the lower end of the age spectrum. Um, but when I left there, like I kind of had like an energy high. There's just like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It was just like
Yeah.
you get around men, and one of the guys that I talked to and what he's dealing with right now, I'm just like, holy shit. Like the few little things that I'm struggling with don't even compare to what this
Yeah.
man was dealing with. But yet here he was at church in the men's group at 5 a.m. with a smile on his face, cracking jokes. And get yourself around other men out there that are going through the same thing. It doesn't have to be in person. I mean, there's so many like programs and things out there. There are men out there that are trying to, you don't have to be the one to pull yourself up by the bootstraps. Sure, the story might sound a little bit cooler, but it doesn't matter how you get there.
Hmm.
It doesn't matter how you get there.
Yeah.
You do what you have to do. Like when you have a
Yeah.
marriage and you have your family and your livelihood riding on the line, it doesn't matter how you get there.
Hmm.
It really doesn't.
Yeah.
Get yourself out there, put yourself out there and get around other men, not your boys, not the ones that are asking you to go play golf 3 or 4 times a week, not the ones that are wanting to go to the bar on the weekends to watch football, not not the ones that are like, hey, you want to come over and play video games and smoke weed. Not those. There's a time and a place for that. That's when you have your shit together. There's a time and a place for that. If you're not at that place, then get yourself around a group of men that are actively trying to better themselves and better their lives. I think that's why there's like a huge movement of young men being attracted to the likes of Andrew Tate and, some of these other people out there, Nick Fuentes, and, there's some things that I agree with, but there's a lot of things that I
Hmm.
do not agree with, and how
Yeah.
they broadcast their message and how they deliver their message. It's just
It's not rooted in Christ. It's just like
exactly.
so
It's not
disconnected. It's
exactly.
disrespectful to women.
Exactly.
But
The
but that's what has. I listened to an interview with Andrew Tate and what's Bonnie Blue,
mm,
and it was very interesting because they were like, well, this is what society has created: is men on this extreme that
for
are
sure.
very truly misogynistic, really just disrespectful of women, and just like so ego inflamed. And then Bonnie Blue, who had sex with 1,000 men in one day, boasted about it. Is too promiscuous that she even was kicked off of OnlyFans. Just like a total degenerate, as you would call it.
Yeah.
But like that's what this divide has created, is just these two extremes where there's just like, and you look at both of them and I feel so sad for both of them because I can feel how tormented their heart actually is.
Mm,
And that's like, I think the saddest thing. So I love that. I love that. I think there does need to be spaces for men to be with men who are also willing to repent for their sins, wanting to align themselves so fully with God. Because if you want to know how to be a masculine man, Jesus was the perfect example. Like, you guys have a great example. We have many great examples of women in the Bible of how to be a devoted woman and a faithful woman. Ruth, Esther, Mary Magdalene, the woman at the well. Like, we have so many, and there's a reason why Jesus was a man, because men really drive society. You guys drive culture, and I think that um, when you drive the world, we live in a patriarchy. We've lived in a patriarchy for so many years, and there's a reason for that, because it creates order, and God is the ultimate patriarch, and He creates order. And I think that it's like, that was probably like one of the most healing things for me, because wow, I would be like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be in a patriarch. And I've
hmm
had women reach out to me and they're just like, why is there authority? This might have to be like a two. We might have to break this episode up, but um, I had one woman reach out to me and she's like, why does God have to be an authority? Like, why does he have to be a man? And why is he an authority? And aren't we all the same and equal? And I'm just like, I can't, I try to explain it to her. And then I realize, like, the way you're seeing this is still so deeply rooted in that father wound of like, you don't want it. And I feel this with a lot of women because there has been hurt from the patriarchy. You
Mm-hmm.
know, you look at Middle Eastern countries, just like these Islamic countries where women are brutally, female genital mutilation is a real thing still happening. You have women who in Iran where their faces are like being completely destroyed if they show too much, and terrible things have happened under patriarchy. But God's design, his kingdom is designed for patriarchy because he understands order. And really, women, we are the waters. Like, we are the earth is wild and abundant and life-giving and understands cycles and seasons. There's no containment to it without God,
Mm-hmm.
and again, it's just, I don't even know like where I'm going with that, but I just like, I feel like it goes back to that thing, is if instead of fighting it so much, if we just trusted the goodness of God, it would be so, because that's how guilt is healed, is, through repentance, we meet the goodness of God.
Mm-hmm.
I heard this once, I think it was Stephen Furtick. I was listening maybe to one of his sermons online, and he said, it might have been him or someone else. So if I'm misquoting someone, I apologize. But he said, the difference between Adam and Peter is that when Adam sinned, he ran from God.
Mm-hmm.
And when Peter sinned and denied Christ 3 times, looks God in his face and denied knowing him, and Mary Magdalene told him that he rose from the dead, Peter ran to God. And that's the God that I think I know and I love and I trust and I give everything to. And I think about that of just like, I haven't had like many intimate moments with my father. He's not that type of person. I've watched Elliot have many moments with you where like she's done something wrong and she just like collapses into the safety of your arms. I've had maybe 1 or 2 of those moments with my dad. Um, but there's nothing like that. There's just such a covering and a safety and protection. And I feel like individually and as couples, you've chosen each other. And this is like the biggest thing, is like we constantly have to repent within our marriage, because we should always be correcting ourselves and course correcting
Mm-hmm.
and turning to God in like such a real, raw, and intimate way. And I think because of, we've been conditioned by culture to be narcissistic,
Yeah.
to care more about our feelings and how we feel. Repentance doesn't feel good. To sit with your partner and be like, yeah, I messed up, or I wasn't the best version, or my insecurities are coming up, or I'm thinking about something that happened years ago and I told you I wouldn't bring it up, but it's still like whatever it is, I feel jealous, I feel angry, I feel resent, like whatever it is that's coming up, that's bubbling to the surface. It takes more work to sit down with someone and be like, this is what's going on, this is what's happening. I feel like I'm carrying too much of a burden, whatever it is, and to sit with that person. But if we can be Christ-like within our marriage and see that on their person, and like, this is like the goodness of marriage, is like, I actually don't expect perfection from you. That it would never work. I don't expect you to be perfect, but I do expect you to always see the goodness of me
Mm-hmm.
through my efforts, through my faithfulness, through my loyalty to you, through my love for you, and vice versa. And like, that would heal so much in marriages,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's what we didn't have before, because there was that blame game. And again, it's on a large scale, it's happening culturally where we're seeing this divide, so much so that people aren't wanting to have kids.
Mm-hmm.
Aren't, of course, women don't want to have kids if they feel like men aren't going to show up.
Yeah. I
Of
get it.
course, you're going to be angry about it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's just, of course you're not going to be married if you think a woman's just going to be nagging you all the time and telling you that you're worthless or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Of,
Or yeah.
or you think you get married and then there's no more sex and intimacy and, whatever. Like, it's just like, I think we have to, through a biblical lens, marriages will be healed. I
Mm.
do believe that. If we truly submit ourselves to God's design for what it means to be male and what it means to be female and what it means to be married then in union, it's such a good thing, you know?
Yeah, there's not too many blueprints out there for life in general. There's not many blueprints out there for parenthood or fatherhood or motherhood, if you want to break it down individually. That's one thing that I thought was really interesting when we started going to church and not just like skimming through the Bible or like picking out, you know, uh, you know,
A
a
verse that feels
yeah,
good.
exactly, or a cliche, parable.
Yeah.
But there is a pretty solid blueprint for both of those things
Yeah.
in the Bible, which is really interesting. Um,
It's the best self-help book. It's so crazy how many self-help books I've read,
yeah,
just like so many self-help books, and it's all right there.
yeah. I suppose it takes a bit of an open mind, to peel open a Bible and have that sort of approach to it. Because I do feel like there is still a lot of resistance from both men and women. Um, I don't know what those. I'd love to see what those statistics look like about who's flooding to the churches right now, because probably with what I consume, the type of content I see, the algorithms, I've heard that young men are flocking to the church. I don't know if that holds true for women, but I'd be curious to find out.
We saw it though. Like when we were at
We did.
Elevation Worship, there were so many groups of young guys,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. No, I mean,
The
there were.
women were usually in couples
That's
or they
true.
were older
That's a
women.
good point. Yeah.
I
That's,
saw so many groups of like young college age getting
yeah.
hype on Billboard. It was so
Yeah.
cool to see.
That's a really good observation, actually. Yeah. You're absolutely right. But yeah, I mean, just, I don't know. I've always leaned towards having an open mind about just things in general. I tend to be more optimistic.
Hmm.
I've also never been burned by the church. I've never been burned by religion. I've never, got sucked up into a cult,
Hmm.
like you've shared with some of these people that you've met or encountered. And
But that's not God. Like that's just.
it's not. But I'm just saying, like, when you approach it through with that sort of perspective, I think it becomes a lot easier to interpret things in the Bible and interpret the meanings in the Bible. Um, and I don't know. It's like, I think a lot of times people are fearful of structure and containment,
Mhm.
and maybe that's where a lot of this rebellious spirit comes from, is that lack of, people are afraid of the discipline, they're afraid of the structure. um
I launched my Ruth Bible study and like it's all about obedience.
Obedience is another one. Yeah.
And people don't want to hear it. Like I can just like you want the fruit, but you don't want what comes with the fruit. And that's what New Age manifestation is like. Well, you can do it your way. It's not sustainable, nor is the fruit as good as when it comes from God.
Yeah, you're not going to manipulate something that large. That's why it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
You can't take something holy and manipulate it and try to contort it into what it is that you want. It's just not going to work.
Yeah.
um
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't know, maybe that's a good place to wrap up,
Yeah, that's good.
and then we can do maybe a part two, or we can just jump into something else.
Yeah, I'm gonna pray on it because I really would love to do like a question. I want to do like a Q&A for you
Mm,
of like more of like the masculine, like just like for the men. I know a lot of women are listening, so I have been praying on just like how do we call men in.
mm-hmm.
Um, Ladies, send this to your husband, especially this one. I feel like you have such a real perspective. Like you have like a,
Because I've gone through it, I've been through it.
yeah.
I also feel like I'm a little late to the party,
What do
like
you mean?
like as in I have some ground to make up,
Yeah.
you know. So again, like talking about the blueprints for life, there's not a blueprint for this.
Mm-mm.
I guess we're kind of laying the blueprint for Elliot now, but we've had to go like literally baptism by fire to get
Yeah.
to this point to where, you know,
Hmm.
we can teach her a lot of this at a very young age when she's still impressionable and not set in her ways. And it's been a
Sh
very humbling experience to get here.
she's
And
a good kid, like she takes it all in. She's funny.
mhm,
Like this girl pray. I don't know if she prays in the car with you when you take her to school, but every day I'll just be like, Ellie. Like when I take her, usually on Mondays, I'm like, do you want to just say a little prayer? And she's like in the back seat praying to God. I swear heaven sings every time because the way my heart feels when that little girl says a prayer is just like, wow,
yeah,
so cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
super cool. Um, yeah,
I think this is a good place to stop. Yeah, I would definitely send it to your husbands or just like the men because it's not, there's a reason why I think God was like, stop doing a podcast just with you or with another woman. Like, I think because I can be a little bit more unfiltered with you. Um, and also, men need to hear this message. I've said it so many times and I'll say it again. I know a lot of broken men, and I'm thinking of my brother right now, and I just, yeah, if he had that like direction, his life would have been so much different. And I just know so many broken men or women that come to me and their husbands are struggling and they don't know where to turn and they're isolated and alone. And,
yeah,
I think that if they can hear you and it's not this woo woo spiritual nonsense, it's grounded and just like very tangible and real, it will help them tremendously because you're fighting for your life, you're fighting for your family, you're fighting for your marriage, you're fighting for your children's, the soul of your children's. Like let's be real, Hollywood, if they want to take anything, they want to take the soul of your child. We should probably do a podcast on that.
yeah, that'd be an
Hmm.
interesting one for sure.
Yeah, but anyway,
Yeah.
this is good.
All right.
Thank
We'll
you
wrap up.
guys.
Bye, guys.